Thank you very much for having me. It's a very exciting time to be here at the convention. I prepared some beautiful, lovely slides for you. However, there was a technology screw-up. I'm not very good at computers, and I don't have those, so we're going to do without slides. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit really on the topic of global connectivity and the global scope and reach of my work at Wikipedia, and the importance of taking a really global approach to our US public policy around the internet in order to fuel the kind of compassionate growth that we would all like to see all around the world. The basic premise behind Wikipedia, the original vision for Wikipedia, is for all of us to imagine a world in which every single person on the planet is given free access to the sum of all human knowledge. And that's what we're doing at Wikipedia. And if you think about that vision statement, there's several things about it that are really important. But for me, the thing that's extraordinarily important is every single person on the planet. What this means is that Wikipedia is inherently a global project. We're an inherently multilingual project. We want to be able to engage with everyone, everywhere. In the last 15 years since we started Wikipedia, we have written over 40 million different encyclopedia entries across 285 languages. Now, when I say 285 languages, the truth is, of course, the work in Wikipedia is not evenly distributed across those languages. English Wikipedia is the largest, with over 5 million entries. We have about 11 or 12 languages, mostly various European languages that have over 1 million entries. But beyond that, it gets smaller and smaller and thinner. But there's really exciting things going on today in the languages of the developing world. We're seeing a lot of growth across the languages of Africa, across the languages of Central Asia. Chinese Wikipedia is huge. India is doing well. Africa, not as many languages are doing well, but we're beginning to see some traction there, in fact. All around the world, every month we have over 400 million readers all around the world. And that is the official number from ComScore. But if you ask ComScore, their business model is around measuring traffic for advertising. And quite naturally, they have a lot more invested in getting it right in countries that have very large and well-developed advertising markets. Our internal server logs show maybe closer to 600 million users every month because ComScore doesn't necessarily measure as well as they would like to across Africa, across China, etc. So we have all around the world, we have about 80,000 people every month who are editing Wikipedia. It's actually higher than that, but 80,000 is the number of people who edit at least 5 times in a month. So this is a huge and international organization, a huge group of people all around the world. And one of the things that's really interesting, every year we get together and we have our Wikimania conference. So Wikimania, it's a great, silly name. And we bring together volunteers from all around the world. So we host it in a different city every world. And we've been many places. We were in London a couple years back. We were in Mexico City. We just were in a small village in Italy, the first time we'd ever done it in a small village instead of a huge metropolitan area. And what's really interesting to me is to see all of these volunteers coming from all around the world. We have about 1,000 people come from many different cultures, many different backgrounds, many different language groups, but they have more in common than separates them. They're a bunch of geeks, for one thing. They're more interested in knowledge, and they're more interested in getting it right than they are in the kinds of troubles and things that we see today. I got an enormous round of applause, stealing a line that I stole from Hillary, more or less saying, Wikipedia is about building bridges, not about building walls. When you see all the people coming together from Wikipedia to share knowledge in this amazing charitable effort, it's really an astonishing thing. And this is what's really important to understand about Wikipedia. Even though Wikipedia is something like the #5 website in the world, hundreds of millions of viewers, one of the most famous brands in the world, there is no Wikipedia jet. because we are a charity. We're actually a fairly small nonprofit organization. We have about 250 employees, and all of the people who are doing this writing are all volunteers. They're just pouring their hearts into it in a pure gift to humanity. The idea of just coming together to write something as good quality as we can and give it to the world for free. One of the things that our community really, really values, and this is something that I find incredibly rare and lacking in today's media, is they value the concept of neutrality. The idea that Wikipedia shouldn't take a stand on controversial issues, but should in fact report on all sides fairly. Our ideal is to say, if you have an entry about a controversial topic, like let's say abortion, you should see the ability for a kind and thoughtful Catholic priest and a kind and thoughtful Planned Parenthood activist to work together on that entry. Even though they're never going to agree on the fundamental issue of abortion, they're going to be able to work together to write it up in a way that other people will understand what the debate is about. The Catholic priest will understand that the Wikipedia entry can't say abortion is a sin, but it can say the Catholic Church position on abortion is thus and such, and critics have responded so and so. And when you really think about it, this is what you want from an encyclopedia, and frankly, this is what you want from the media. Unfortunately, we get too little of this from the media these days. I always challenge people. The first thing people say if I hear that they're either for or against Obamacare, here's a fun thing to do. It's a fun thing to do to yourself if you're for or against Obamacare. Ask yourself if you actually know what it is. It's very complicated, right? And the media's done a very poor job of educating us about all the details of what it is. So this is really what Wikipedia is all about, and it's unbelievably global, as I say. But we do face problems around the world. One of the things that I was really, really pleased about when Hillary was Secretary of State is her Internet Freedom Agenda. And I think that this is something that I encourage all politicians, all policymakers to think about is what is the impact of legislation in the United States or in Europe? What does it have on people in the developing world in the indirect ways that are so important? And also, what examples are we setting? So we do work globally to try to keep Wikipedia open. I'll talk a little bit about China for a moment. So in China, we are currently completely banned in China. This has happened in the past. We were banned in China for about 3 or 4 years. And then just before the Beijing Olympics, the Chinese went through a period of openness, and they allowed access to Wikipedia, although at that time they were filtering certain pages. So they were filtering things like Ai Weiwei, who's the artist who annoys them, or Tiananmen Square, or Liu Xiaobo, who won the Nobel Peace Prize. These are the kinds of topics that are very, very sensitive in China, but which we refuse to cooperate with censorship. And if you go and you read the Chinese Wikipedia on these topics, what you'll find is that it's very, very similar to Wikipedia in every language. The community in China is very passionate about neutrality. They just want to write the facts in a very clear way. Because of some of the revelations of Snowden, there was one of the slides that was released that showed that the NSA considered Wikipedia very easy to spy on because we weren't encrypted. We very quickly moved, so every time you visit Wikipedia today, it's HTTPS. It's just like you're visiting your bank, which means that the Chinese government or the Russian government, who I'll talk about in a moment, can't see which entry you're reading. They can only see that you're talking to Wikipedia, which is generally not a controversial thing. China, in response to this, has decided not to have Wikipedia at all. Russia's in a different position. The Russians have passed a law against what they call homosexual propaganda. They also are against drug propaganda. What exactly this means is still being adjudicated in the courts there, but sometimes it might mean information in Wikipedia, such as the basic fact that people smoke marijuana as a recreational drug. Well, surprise, surprise. And of course, Wikipedia doesn't fit anybody's definition of propaganda. Wikipedia is probably not the best place to go if you want to, learn how to use good drugs or something like this. But we've got the facts there. And in China, we are facing threats. We've gotten notices saying this is illegal in Wikipedia. The nice thing so far in Russia is that we tend to get a notice and ignore it, and then a few hours later, they put out a press release saying Wikipedia has agreed to comply. We didn't do anything, but okay, great. And we'll see. Part of my job is to do diplomacy, so I've been to China to meet with the minister. I just did that last in December. I'm going in September to talk to the Russians, and we're very hopeful. And one of the things that we look at here is to really talk about our community and that the community just wants to get it right. Now, of course, there are cases where that alone is something that some of the governments of the world, they don't really want us to get it right. So the Russian government, for example, is not really interested in banning Wikipedia's article about homosexuality. They've got the laws badly written, and this is why they keep saying, oh, it's okay, even though it isn't. But what they don't like is talking about Russia and Ukraine. And that's a really good example of how our communities can work together. We've had a lot of discussions between the Ukrainian Wikipedians and the Russian Wikipedians because those populations even have very different views of things, and they have a lot of conflict in Wikipedia amongst those communities. But they've done amazing work. A group of Russian Wikipedians came to Kiev, and they did a little mini-conference to hammer out the issues and to try to say, how can we present this in a way that both people who are partisan to Russia and partisan to Ukraine can both say, yes, that is a fair description of the argument, which is very much like the example I gave earlier. So finally, the last thing I want to talk about is the state of mobile. Mobile is unbelievably important to us. We know that the next billion people who come online are going to come online mostly on mobile devices. This is extraordinarily important. When I talk about Wikipedia as being for every single person on the planet, we're getting closer and closer to that all the time, and it's actually coming much faster than even people in my industry realized. Today, for under $40, you can get a 3G Android smartphone with Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, all the features. In fact, one of the phones that I found for about $40 is you can just go down the specification list, tick, 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 tick. It's virtually identical to the original iPhone. Now, the original iPhone is nowhere near as good as your new iPhone 6, of course, but if you remember the revolutionary impact that iPhone had on how we all thought about the internet and on the go and access to information, that's happening right now across India, across Africa, and they're flooding the market, and these are getting cheaper and cheaper every year, which means that hundreds of millions of people very soon are having access to the internet for the first time. They're having access, and this is what's really important. They are having access in their own language. I remember a few years back, I was in India. I was at a meetup. We had a group of Wikipedia volunteers together. We had about 30 people around for dinner, and we passed a piece of paper around the table where everybody marked a tick by their home language, and we had 8 different home languages around the table. Afterwards, one of the young men came up to me and he said, I don't see why you care so much about all these local languages because everybody in India with a computer can speak English. Well, he was wrong then, but he's really wrong now. India, as one example, if you go and visit India and you talk to people, cab drivers, you'll get the impression perhaps that everybody in India speaks English. That is not true. It's about 40 to 80 million people, depending on how you measure it, and there's about 1 billion people who don't speak English. People need Wikipedia in their mother tongue, and this is really important to us, and they need mobile, they need access to knowledge in their mother tongue, and this is something that's really important to us. One of the programs that we have, and I have this fantastic video which would leave you in joyful tears, except I screwed up the slides. It's a program called Wikipedia Zero, where we work with mobile carriers around the world to encourage them to offer access to Wikipedia with no data charges. And this has been an enormous success for us. It's actually one of these kind of win-win situations because for the mobile carriers, they want people to buy a smartphone. They want them to start using the internet. People are a little skeptical. I don't know what it is. I don't know why I should have that. They can say, well, look, here's Wikipedia. Your kids can do their homework. And they say, okay, I'll give it a try. And it doesn't cost anything for Wikipedia. And then pretty soon they start doing other things. And so it makes sense for the mobile companies. But also the mobile companies, despite being obviously voraciously all about money in one sense, they are also tech pioneers. They're also, I find them to be quite idealistic, particularly in the developing world. They understand what they're doing. They understand that the technology that they are selling cheaper and cheaper every year is going to dramatically change people's lives for the better. And they're actually really proud to be part of pushing that into what they're doing rather than simply just being in it to sell more phones. So the thing I want to close with, if you remember a few years back, there was a proposed law here in the U.S., SOPA PIPA, and this was a law. It was all about copyright. It was very badly drafted. It was an extraordinarily bad idea. It's like many bad ideas in Washington. You can't really kill them. They're just sort of like zombies. They keep coming back. But so far, we've killed it. And one of the things that we did, the debate around that was mainly being viewed as Silicon Valley versus Hollywood. It was all about rights and all this sort of thing, piracy and so on and so forth. But what they forgot about is the real, genuine communities, the people who are doing amazing things online, who are giving a gift to the world, who very much respect copyright. Wikipedia is not based on plagiarism. We hate plagiarism. But we need a certain amount of freedom. We need a certain amount of flexibility in intellectual property laws in order for our work to exist. When we are neglected, when the genuine communities of the internet are neglected, we see very poor policy choices. And so what we are saying to people is, hey, look, you know, if you're in Congress, if you're a senator, if you're involved in any kind of politics that impacts on the internet, don't just talk to Google and don't just talk to the movie studios. Come and talk to us. Come and think about how laws might impact on the kinds of people who are trying to give an incredible gift to the world. So thank you very much for your time.